Bro, people gonna always have something negative to say of how you react or what you do. It's always gonna be scrutiny of what you do in this world. If you do it right, if you, he could have did this way.
But specifically speaking,
bro, listen, CTE, you can't stand a person for CTE till they dead, first off.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
You don't know about CTE?
I know about CTE.
So how do they test CTE?
I believe that his NFL career may be over because he can't be trusted. He has turned against everybody who's ever done anything for him.
I know Coach Arians had told you when you came to this team, you know, you screw up one time and you're done. And some people would deem what happened as a screw up.
This is just not normal. I think first and foremost, if AB's to ever play in the National Football League again, he has to get some type of help.
Because he's so damn good at the game of football, and he's so Hall of Fame worthy in terms of his numbers. And the guy can't get out of his own way.
For NFL fans, there are always a select few amount of players whose names are known by everybody. Tom Brady, Randy Moss, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, who have all had their names immortalized within the fanbase for their stunning careers. But there's one player whose name nobody will forget for a long time, and he had a stunning career as well. Oh, it was stunning alright, and his name was Antonio Brown. Debatably one of the best wide receivers the NFL has ever seen. With his freakish speed and athletic ability, he quickly became a superstar player. And as a Bucs fan, I was thrilled that he was coming to play for us in 2020. But I was a younger man then. I was innocent and foolish. So you can imagine my shock when I was curious enough to go on a deep dive into his history and find mountains upon mountains of controversy that still haunt his career to this day. So join me today as we dive into the murky depths of the life and times of Antonio Brown. AB was born on July 10th, 1988 in Liberty City, Miami, Florida, a bustling city which provided a healthy upbringing to become the man he is today. His father, Eddie Brown, was a star player in the Arena Football League, or AFL, and just so happens to be regarded as the greatest AFL player of all time, and was a huge role model for him. But when AB was roughly 7 or 8, his parents divorced, leaving him in a single-parent household with his mother until he was 12 when she remarried. But AB hated his new stepfather, and the two did not get along at all. His poor relationship with his stepfather got him kicked out of his home at the age of 16, where he would be homeless for some time, sleeping in cars, cheap motels, or friends' houses. He did still attend high school, however, and decided to follow in his father's footsteps in being a football star. His high school football career was stellar. He played wide receiver, running back, punt returner, and even quarterback, earning the North Athlete of the Year award in 2005. He would apply to FSU, but was rejected due to academic struggles, and settled for North Carolina Tech Prep. Once he finished his lone season at North Carolina, he received a scholarship to play at Florida International University, or FIU, but he was expelled before the season for an altercation with security. This will be a running theme. He then enrolled at Central Michigan as he was buddy-buddy with the head coach, and played 3 seasons with them. He led the Mid-American Conference in receptions in his freshman year, led the conference in punt returns in his sophomore year, and in his junior year set a school record for 305 receptions in his 3 seasons. However, in what would have been his senior year, he gave in to his ego and announced he would skip his senior year and enter the 2010 NFL Draft. With a career like that, he'd be a quick first-round pick, right? Not quite. He was ranked the 37th best receiver in the draft and was an estimated 5th or 6th round pick, so AB ended up being selected 195th overall by the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers signed AB to a 3-year, $1 million contract in 2010, but after proving he had once-in-a-lifetime talent, the Steelers gave him a 5-year, $42 million contract extension in 2012. And in 2017, he signed a massive extension with a 4-year, $68 million contract, which would have been valid through 2021, but AB would go on to only play 8 seasons with the Steelers from 2010 to 2018, advancing to the playoffs in 6 of those seasons, and he even advanced to Super Bowl 45 in AB's rookie year of 2010, although the Steelers would narrowly lose 31-25 to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Ironically, the two teams have never seen the Super Bowl since. AB himself became a major hotshot over the years and is easily the greatest wide receiver the Steelers have ever had. But maybe Juju Smith-Schuster will have some time to catch up now that... never mind. AB ended up netting 1,000-yard seasons 6 years in a row. He led the NFL in receptions and receiving yards in 2014, and he led the NFL in receiving touchdowns in his final year as a Steeler in 2018. Now, this success with the Steelers looks great on paper, but if you look beyond his performance on the field, you're gonna find some very ugly things. Alright, here we go. Now we're getting into the juicy parts of the story. This is going to be a quick rundown of most of the stupid moments he had, and because a lot of this is old news and poorly documented, I'm going to keep it brief. In a mysterious fit of rage, he destroyed his Florida apartment and threw furniture off of the 14th story balcony and nearly killed a 2-year-old baby in the process, which he was later sued for by the family of the baby and by his landlord for destroying the place. I mean, just to look at all of this damage. It's hard to pin down exactly what made him destroy the place, but AB claimed that he was missing a 9mm automatic pistol and $80,000 in cash from the apartment. Where is the money? I don't know about you, but $80,000 in cash just sitting in an apartment sounds suspicious as hell. On a lengthy punt return, he kicked a defender in the head, which he was later fined $8,200 for. On a separate punt return where he went all the way for a touchdown, as he was known to do, he infamously jumped onto the goalpost, unintentionally snatching the hair of a woman leaning against it. In a fit of genius, he willingly bleached his mustache and it looked like shit, but at least the memes were funny. He was sued by his baby mama over domestic abuse, where he allegedly shoved her to the ground when she was seeking reimbursement for their son's haircut. What? He filmed himself on Facebook Live in the Steelers' locker room after a playoff win, which is something you are not allowed to do, as locker room material is to be confidential. He was found guilty of reckless driving by going 100 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone, trying to get to the pre-game practice he was late for, by the way. And he was found guilty in his absence because he skipped the court hearing. He pegged a football at Ben Roethlisberger during a heated exchange for unclear reasons during practice, skipped the next few practice sessions, and got benched during what would be his final game as a Steeler. And then finally, in early 2019, the Steelers couldn't take it anymore and fired him, which was fine with AB because he wanted out anyway. And there he was, after 9 long years. AB was a free agent for 3 weeks.
There's a lot of people that have an opinion about you, and whether it be good or bad, you're in the spotlight all the time. Let me ask you this, do you want to be a Raider or not?
I've been trying to be a Raider since day one.
Antonio Brown was traded to the formerly Oakland Raiders on March 10th, 2019. They signed him on a very cheap prove-it deal for 1 year to make sure he wouldn't start trouble, and he did a fantastic job. He cleaned up his act and was a very positive influence on the locker room while putting up amazing numbers throughout the season. The Raiders went on to clinch the AFC West and... No, I'm kidding. Here's what happened. Instead of treading lightly with one of the biggest troublemakers in the NFL, the Raiders decided they were all in, trading a 3rd and 5th round draft pick and immediately making him the richest wide receiver the NFL had ever seen, with a 3-year, $50 million contract with $30 million guaranteed.
You're being sent this video because someone wants to know what the fuck you were thinking. What the fuck was going through your head? What did you think was gonna happen? Are you just a fucking idiot? Do you just not think?
In return, AB decided to take all the drama he caused with the Steelers and turn it up to 11. To kick it off, he was sued by a celebrity chef he hired, Stefano Tedeschi, in July 2019. The chef said that, allegedly, AB did not pay him for a weekend's worth of work that totaled $38,000. AB would do this all the time, where he just doesn't pay people he hires, and it would lead to much worse issues down the road, but we'll get to that. Tedeschi and his staff were cooking for 43 people for a Pro Bowl party AB was having, and AB demanded he and his staff leave his house without allowing him to serve the lunch or retrieve his equipment. Tedeschi is a huge name in celebrity cooking. He's even known as the sports chef, and said that, quote, "I've cooked for countless NFL superstars and celebrities. Never once have I had one problem until this." Now, do you want to know why he was thrown out? I'm not making this up. AB mistook a severed salmon head in the freezer as a mob-style threat, and he responded by throwing him and his staff out of the house. Now look, as far as I can tell, this lawsuit hasn't been publicly settled, and nothing has been proven per se. But Tedeschi isn't some schmuck suing AB for his money. He doesn't need the money. He just doesn't work for free. And also, because AB threw him out before he could get his equipment, it made it very difficult to find work during the Pro Bowl weekend, which is mainly why he sued. And I sincerely doubt that Tedeschi just made all of this up. AB would later be sued again by a personal trainer in August for not paying him $7,100 again, but I believe that was settled quickly. After that incident, he missed the first few weeks of practice due to severe frostbite on his feet. How? He was using a cryotherapy chamber. A cryotherapy chamber is a small chamber that you stand upright in for roughly 3 minutes, and using liquid nitrogen can drop the temperatures as low as negative 300 degrees Fahrenheit. No, this isn't a CIA torture machine. It's used as a post-workout substitute for an ice bath, and even used in physical therapy, helping the muscles repair faster by lowering your body temperature. Cryo has been championed by the likes of LeBron James and Stephen Curry. However, the FDA and other scientists have said that the evidence is inconclusive over whether cryo is actually effective. So AB was using a cryo chamber, but neglected to wear proper protection on his feet, which I guess he didn't notice until it was over, so the bottom of his feet became mangled and frozen for weeks, which he posted online for all of us to enjoy. Who was working at the cryotherapy clinic that day? The owner of a physical therapy clinic that offers cryo, Michael Conlon, was interviewed over the AB issue, and he said, "To read that story about Antonio Brown was shocking. I don't know how that went wrong, but we don't let anybody in without the gloves, 2 layers, and the 2 layers of socks and boots." Next, there was the infamous helmet drama. In 2019, the NFL updated its helmet safety standards, meaning that AB's current helmet was against NFL policy and not allowed on the field. Now, a rational person would have put their old helmet in a glass case in their house and gotten a new one. Sure, you cherish and feel comfortable with the old helmet, but the Raiders are making you the richest wide receiver in the NFL. It's not worth putting that money into question. But instead of that, AB decides to act like a spoiled child, filing 2 grievances against the NFL, which he would inevitably lose, skipping more practice in protest, and threatening to retire if he can't wear his old helmet. The Raiders tried their best to resolve the situation, having him try out every helmet they had, and in the end, he would eventually settle and find a new helmet after that's all said and done. Keep in mind, he was the only player that had any problem with the new helmet policy. Over all of his practice skipping and not showing up for work, he was fined $54,000. Infuriated by the fine, he posted them on Instagram, and then got into a confrontation with Raiders GM Mike Mayock over the fines, where he was cursing him out and had to be held back by other players because he nearly assaulted him. I am not making this shit up. 2 days later, AB returned to practice. Head coach John Gruden stated, quote, "Antonio is back today. We're really excited about that and ready to move on. He's had a lot of time, obviously, to think about things, and we're happy to have him back." And then literally the next day, AB requested a release from the Raiders because they fined him $215,000 for his outburst the other day, which also voided the $30 million in guaranteed money. The Raiders promptly fired him hours later on September 7th, 2019, and he had this video to share with us after the fact.
Look up Adam Schefter.
The Raiders free!
Bro,
let's go!
Oh, fucking nigga.
Oh! The freedom bell ring got me flying like a free, flying like an eagle.
All AB did with the Raiders was get in legal trouble, skip practice, and bitch his way out of being the richest wide receiver there was, all before playing a single game. He didn't play a single regular season game for the Raiders. So AB was a free agent for less than 24 hours. On September 7th, 2019, the Patriots immediately signed AB to a one-year, $10.5 million contract. On the same day he got fired by the Raiders. In fact, when AB first arrived in New England, Tom Brady let him live in his own house for a few days. And things went well for AB in New England. He started showing up to practice and established a healthy relationship with Tom Brady and the rest of the team. AB worked hard with Belichick to establish a strong... Nope. I'm kidding again. Here's what happened. Literally 3 days passed, and then he was faced with... Brittany Taylor was AB's personal trainer, and she alleged that AB had sexually assaulted her on 2 occasions and raped her on another. I won't go into the graphic details, but I will link an article below with details on her allegations. AB would fiercely deny all wrongdoing and countersue for defamation. Taylor's lawsuit even included these emails, featuring AB bragging about the alleged incident. But I will say I cannot verify the authenticity of these, and in all honesty, they're probably fake because I can't find a better source than Twitter. But what I can verify are these threatening text messages he sent to a second accuser, which included him calling her broke, calling bullshit on her entire story, photos of the second accuser's children, and AB encouraging an Eric B to dox her. Really scary stuff. And the fact that this is all verified makes the emails in Taylor's lawsuit a little more believable, although not confirmed. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I do know that in most cases, sexual assault cases are unfortunately difficult to prove. It's usually a big mess of he said, she said, with no real hard evidence. It takes a real dumbass to send your accuser an Exhibit A she can use in court, with your main cell phone number. He might as well have pled guilty. Fun fact, his stepfather would be interviewed over the issue and said that it sounded like something he would do, saying, quote, he's very abusive to women. AB would play a single game with the Patriots before they fired him immediately over those texts on September 20th, 2019. Good on them. AB was a Patriot for literally 13 days. Apart from the texts, he was never found officially guilty of anything else, as he eventually found a settlement with Brittany Taylor in April of 2021, nearly 2 years later. So AB was a free agent. For a long time, actually. By now, AB has garnered quite the reputation. He's burned bridges in every team he's been on. In 2019, he was on 3 different teams and got fired by all 3, while only playing 1 regular season game that year with the Patriots. Now enter... It's 2020. Tom Brady shocked the nation by signing with the Bucs, and an amazing quarterback is just what the Bucs offense needed. After all these painstaking years of mediocrity, they finally look like playoff contenders, nay, Super Bowl contenders, and they know it too, and they want to ensure they make it there. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Rob Gronkowski are more than enough super weapons to ask for, but Brady wants more. Evans and Godwin filled the wide receiver 1 and 2 spots, and wide receiver 3 was filled by Scotty Miller, who I think is criminally underrated, but no one else seems to think so. He's a great receiver, but not a super weapon. So Tom Brady ponders, and he remembers the alleged sex offender who lived in his home, the man who nearly assaulted Mike Mayock. But none of that matters if he goes back to basics. If he goes back to playing like the Hall of Fame receiver everyone knows he can be. If he just behaves himself, they'd have 3 super weapon receivers, and they can't guard them all. Tom Brady's offense would be unstoppable, and the plan came to fruition in October 2020. AB signed a 1-year, $750,000 prove-it contract with the Buccaneers in October 2020, halfway through their regular season and about a year since he was fired by the Patriots. Why not earlier? He was suspended for 8 games for the sexual assault lawsuits and for another incident in January of 2020, where he refused to pay a moving truck driver the $4,000 he was owed. Again, when the driver attempted to drive off without unloading the items, as he had every right to do, AB threw a rock at the truck and assaulted the driver, who called the police on the spot. According to TMZ, AB and his friends eventually got the keys from the driver and unloaded the truck themselves. However, they allegedly caused damage to other clients' property in the process. And the best part is that the entire incident is captured on the truck's dash cam. Let's take a look.
Action moving company officials say that's Antonio Brown in the orange shorts.
Stop! 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 You think you can play with us? Stop! You want to play with us? Stop, man. Why do you think you can play with us?
The driver called 911 as Brown.
There's your man, ladies and gentlemen, finally caught red-handed. And finally, the police got involved. There was a warrant put out for his arrest and AB turned himself in. He would plead no contest, which is similar to pleading guilty, meaning he will accept the charges but not admit guilt. I mean, there's nothing to admit. You were caught on camera doing it, you dumbass. AB would be charged with burglary with battery, burglary of an unoccupied conveyance, and criminal mischief. He served 2 years of probation, attended a 13-week anger management program, had to serve 100 hours of community service, and had to undergo a psychological exam. He got off really easy, all things considered. And when he arrived in Tampa, Tom Brady let him stay in his house again. The Bucs wanted AB more than anybody, but would not repeat the same mistakes as the Raiders, and paid him next to nothing compared to everyone else. But the contract included incentives, worth up to $2.5 million if he performed well and behaved. And to everyone's surprise, he did behave himself for the 2020 season. He put up great numbers for the Bucs and was the legitimate superweapon Tom Brady knew he could be. What? I'm not kidding this time. In the remaining 8 games of the regular season, he had 45 receptions for 483 yards, averaging 10.7 yards per catch and scoring 4 touchdowns. The Bucs went on to make the playoffs where AB would score 2 touchdowns, one of them being in Super Bowl 55, which the Bucs won in a blowout victory against the Kansas City Chiefs. And after a decade of playing in the NFL, AB had his first Super Bowl ring. The Buccaneers' plan worked perfectly. Because AB did such a good job the first year, the Bucs re-signed him on a more legitimate contract. A 1-year, $6.25 million contract with $3 million guaranteed in 2021. Not much, and not for a long time. They still don't trust him completely. But it was a lot more money than last year, and they were right not to trust him yet. Because AB would shock the NFL world with what he did that year. And not in a good way.